There's a story about a Native American, a man of the Cherokee Nation, was visiting a friend of his in New York. And they were walking down the street. And it was a very busy street with a lot of cars zooming by and sirens and jets overhead, this typical noise of a big city. And the gentleman who was visiting said, "Stop. Do you hear that cricket?" The guy said, "It was what cricket? With all this noise, how do you hear that cricket?" He says, "Listen." And he walked over to this bush and he messed around with the stuff on the ground around the bush, and there he found the cricket chirping away, making his noise. And he said to his friend, he says, "It depends on what you're listening for." And he reached into his pocket and he took out a bunch of coins and he threw them on the street, on the sidewalk, and everybody's head turned. He says, "It depends on what you're listening for." Isaiah's messianic prophecy goes like this. It says, "The eyes of the blind will be opened and the ears of the deaf unstopped." Like that member of the Cherokee tribe who had a very sensitive ear to be able to pick out those sounds. We have become deaf to being able to pick out the sounds of God because of the noise that's around us constantly. Mother Teresa would tell her young charges when they came to join her convent that when they minister to the poorest of the poor, when they wash the dirt off of a dying man, when they clean up the mess that people come in with the terrible stench that goes along with it, you are touching the face of Jesus. But she would always have these women who came to work with her and become members of the order. She would always have them spend an hour in adoration at the beginning of each day before they ever engaged in any work. They needed to be in touch with the Lord who was already present with them in the Holy Eucharist. And then they could find Him in the faces of those people that they work with. Again, the sensitivity of their eyes, opening up to see what they were seeing and seeing that it was Christ here in their midst. Sometimes I myself get very impatient because I've got an agenda, and so I'm not thinking about the people that are always in front of me. And so I'm not able to see what I should be seeing. I should slow down enough to recognize the people that are right in front of me. There's a part of me, in a sense, that is blind and deaf. And Jesus heals the man in the story of the gospel that I based this homily on. He heals the man of blindness, or of deafness. And when he does so, he goes through a set of rituals to communicate to the man. But more to the point, the healing of the deaf man also finds its ritual in our baptismal rite. For in the baptismal rite, after the child is baptized, the priest touches the ears and the lips of the baby with these words. "The Lord Jesus made the deaf to hear and the mute to speak. May He soon touch your ears to receive His word and your mouth to proclaim your faith to the praise and glory of God the Father." So, what should physically enter one's ears, what should physically come out of one's mouth, eventually should be a statement of faith. To be able to hear the good news and be able to shout out that good news by our lives. Those 7 steps that Jesus used when He healed the man were very symbolic, and they were probably Jesus' way of communicating with him because he was deaf and could not hear him. And so consequently, He needed to do something for the man that the man could understand. So in order to keep him from being embarrassed in front of others, He took him aside. That was the first thing Jesus did. So He was very gentle with him. He took him aside from the group. And then He took His fingers and He put them in his ears. And He took them out. And then Jesus spit on His fingers. the man could see all this and feel all this happening. And then he took the spit and he touched the man's tongue with it. There's a tradition in the Jewish community in those days that the spittle from a holy man was truly had curative powers. Then Jesus looks up to heaven and he sighs. Even though the deaf man couldn't hear the sigh, he could see the sigh. And then Jesus speaks the words, "Be open," ephphatha, be open. And the man's hearing returned. So this is God in action. This is God in action. He seeks a deeper spiritual transformation, but it starts with very physical kinds of communication. And Jesus wanted to communicate with him what he was doing in the quiet, away from the crowd. The man was now able to hear. He was able to hear the good news. And Jesus now could speak to him about himself. And he could learn who this was that healed him. Our earthen vessels, that's what we are made of, are supposed to be filled with the good news. God wants to fill us with that good news. And he also wants to heal us, like he wanted to heal that man who was dead. He wants to heal us of the wounds that happen in our lives, from how we were raised, from what happened to us when we were young, from the incidents that have taken place later in our lives that have hurt us. He wants to touch and heal us. He wants to have us hear the good news that indeed we are loved by God. One of the ways that we can use to remove the obstacles so that we can hear more deeply that good news is the use of discipline or the use of penance. Because we take away from ourselves those things that seem to cloud our vision or keep us from hearing clearly. Like the noise on the street for that man of the Cherokee tribe didn't completely wipe out the cricket, but for the person who was not attuned to it anymore, he could not hear it at all. And so that is with us. How do we take away the noise? We have to do it by the discipline of our lives. That might mean by giving up something so that we can hear a little bit more of the Lord speaking his love to us. That giving up is something we normally do during Lent, but we can do it anytime as Catholics. We can do penance anytime. We can say to ourselves, I'm going to fast today. I'm just going to have one full meal for the sake of someone who's sick in the hospital. When you do that, you'll be opening yourself up to hearing the whisper of God a little more deeply in your life. So there was once an elderly gentleman who had a hearing problem. His family was always upset with him because he couldn't hear what they were saying. But he was proud, so he didn't want to go and get a hearing aid. So one day, quietly by himself, he went to the specialist and he says, "Would you check my ears? I want to see if I can hear better." So the man checked his ears and he says, "Yeah, you have some profound hearing loss." He says, "But I think I can help you. We got a pretty good hearing aid product here that can help you out." And so he fitted in for it, and then he came back a week later and he picked it up and it worked really well. He could hear really well. He was pretty happy with it. Just the conversation with the doctor. About a month later, he came back to see the doctor to see some adjustments and things like that. And so the doctor says, "Your family must be really happy with you now that you can hear." He says, "Oh, I haven't told them yet. I just sit around and listen to the conversation. I've changed my will 3 times." So that's just a little bit of a humor to let you know that that's the way God wants us to be. It's those hearing aids he wants to give us so that we can hear the real conversation that God is telling us. How much he loves us, how much he wants to save us, how much he wants to forgive us, and how much he wants us to be